I'm going to talk about Chainlink. Was it a bubble? Can it actually deliver? So, welcome to the channel. If you are new, please do subscribe, bell button, like, comment. Please share it. More likes, more comments, all kinds of stuff. Give me a bit of stick, whatever, right? Makes it go further. So, let's talk about Chainlink, right? I just want to kind of put it out there. This is mainly educational. It's not to FUD the project in any way. I want to talk about certain things that catch people out and why people lose money in the space. Mainly due to FOMO, speculation, and little tactics that have been done to make the price rise. And we want to make this very, very clear. This is cryptocurrency. We know these things happen. So we're going to talk about Chainlink. We'll do some chart analysis. We'll look at certain things that I feel that have been a bit of an issue with this project and why I never invested. But ultimately, it doesn't mean that it's not going to be a success in the future. It just means that speculative bubbles happen all the time, and ultimately, can they recover from this? Potentially they could. You know, who knows? But let's talk about first things first in terms of, this was an article that was released in August 19th. Chainlink, another altcoin, bubble as it price crashes, right? So this was talking about the bubble in terms of how it grew. It grew massively, like huge. We know that, right? We cannot deny that. If you got in at like $3, $2, $4, $5, whatever, well done, fantastic. But the caveat here is, when you were telling people to buy at like $15, $16, $17, $18 and you're an influencer, it portrays to me that you're a bit of a duck egg and you're a bit stupid because you don't understand how investing realistically works. Investing, you don't buy at the highs, rule number one. You don't buy because prices are going up, rule number two. And rule number three, you always take profits, right? Simple as that. Ultimately, there's been warning signs. There's been all kinds of stuff with Zeus Capital. I'm not going to mention those in that way because for me, it was an obvious FUD to try and manipulate the price. The price will always tell you a story. The speculation, the FOMO will always tell you a story. But what also tells you the story is if it's overexerts itself and it's going too high for the current conditions. Chainlink was screaming that for a long time. It was showing price discovery, it was showing divergences all over the place. And people with followers were still going, I'm buying it, I'm buying it, I'm buying it. $18. Look at who the fuck got in. Mr. Dave of the stock market with his little green hammer. Yeah, well done. You know, screams, don't touch it. But people touched it. It's just one of those things. So, in terms of educational stuff, obviously, this is obviously an article references Cryptowhale, who I believe is quite a good account, realistic like myself. A lot of people say I'm bearish. I'm just realistic, to be honest with you. Personally, if my money is going into a project, if my voice is listened to, I want to give people the fair reflection of what I feel in terms of previous price action people should buy. A lot of people comment on my video saying, haha, you should have bought at this price. Well, actually, if you go back in time, hindsight's a beautiful thing. Ultimately, if you buy at the lowest possible price, the highest reward is there. If you're buying at like $20 on Chainlink, well, let's be honest with you, to go beyond $20, it's a stretch. You can't just figure that out. You can't just keep going up higher. A lot of people have been buying high in the hope it goes higher. We can't have that mentality. You will get wrecked. And people have got completely and utterly shafted. There's nothing wrong with missing an opportunity. There's plenty of them. The worst thing you can ever do is buy at the top. It is disgusting. Leaving money on the table, watching it just sink and float and evaporate, it's a worse feeling. So, in terms of that, this article was released on the Bitcoin.com. Bubbles. So, was it confirmed? We could probably argue, yes, it was. The next article was released 60 minutes ago. So, in terms of this, looking heavy, witnessing some heavy selling pressure. Where is it going? The technical outlook, potential downside to come. This is kind of like the, you know, the fear phase, the phase where people are like totally underwater and like, oh, what do I do? Sell, sell, sell. You know, instead of the dollar cost averaging route, instead of all kinds of good stuff in terms of being able to capitalize on opportunity, if you like the asset, if you've done your solid research and you back it, and there's nothing wrong with backing an asset that's going down in price, go for it. One of the things I want to mention as well as a comment, like, I had a lot of comments recently on like some of my videos, like they go, it looks a bit dead. The price isn't quite doing anything. That's the time to buy. All the people, as I said at the start of this video, if you saw the opportunity to buy into Chainlink at like $2, $1, whatever, and you've seen the opportunity and you've made profits, that's how you do it. Simple as that. To the people that are going, well, actually, it needs to go up in price. It needs to go va-va-voom for like 300% before I actually buy it. You're doing it wrong. So I want to talk about the website. So I'm going to bring up some red flags in terms of why I think it's crashed so significantly over time, because in reality, it's kind of the company's fault in a way, because they've not backed up their produce of hype. This is a current live website right now at the time of recording. It's, you know, today is the 16th of September, is it? Yes. It is 11:05, and ultimately there's something on here you've probably looked at and you're trying to find, and you're thinking to yourself, well, actually, there's no real mention of it in terms of partnerships. Now, there's quotes, fair enough, but that is it. I want to go back in time. On Wayback Machine, go to November time. This is the 14th of November. If you scroll down, you've got Swift, you've got Google, Gartner, and IC3. There is absolutely no mention of this anywhere else on the website. Now, that is one red flag. I knew that with the Swift partnership, it wasn't concrete in terms of it wasn't announced from the other end. One thing about researching any cryptocurrency project, especially cryptocurrency, you've got to verify the partnerships. You can't just go, well, they say it's got that. It's very, very easy to fraudulent a partnership. You've got to really dig deep and find it. So that was one element of it. And realistically, you've got to look at that and you've got to think, well, actually, why is that the case? So dig a little bit deeper in terms of why that partnership's been removed. And I'm not going to go too deep into it, but ultimately, you know, it's shady tactics in my opinion. And that is, for me, a big red flag. If you've had partnerships on a website for a long period of time, then all of a sudden it's just quietly been removed. It's not been, you know, that's kind of shady in my opinion. Moving on into another topic, which is going back all the way to 2 years ago. This post was put up about the supply. And it even reserves here how there was only 350 million in circulating supply for people to buy in terms of the fundraise, but there's also 650 million going, you know, from the Link developers. What will happen if that does end up getting sold? What happens to the price? Well, ultimately, it doesn't matter in terms of how good you like the project and what happens. It's controlled in that mechanism of supply. That is an issue. Stuff gets going, you know, and we get a bit of a rumble in the jungle, boom, they're just going to dump it to preserve capital. And we all know that capital preservation is key in any sort of project, especially in cryptocurrency. So for me, personally, in my opinion, you know, that should always be in the back of your mind, especially if you're looking to buy this at an inflated price. Buy it low, not high. Moving on to the next part, before we go into analysis, is obviously this article here. You know, just a small article here. Is Chainlink overhyped project or will they deliver? Similar sort of ilk to this video. But there's certain things about this in terms of overhyped projects, and this is quite a good one in terms of it looks at Twitter, in terms of, you know, engagement, in terms of how engaged it is. And obviously we looked at Ripple, hyped a lot in terms of XRP and its XRP army, whatever, Ripple army. And it goes through how it goes through like the Twitter followers in terms of how their audit score is. Again, looking at CZ and stuff like that. But it actually compares and looks at how the engagement is on this in terms of how the engagement of Chainlink versus followers is absolutely massive compared to the likes of CZ and Ripple. But it also goes back and looks into who likes it. There's a lot of like bot sort of like, and I've noticed this anyways with a lot of projects, not just Chainlink. There's a lot of projects that are like this where they have a lot of fake engagement. You know who, you know, what is a good cryptocurrency when people are talking about it, when people are physically engaging with your content. I get that with Chainlink, but with other projects I get it a lot more, a hell of a lot more compared to the price. So would that indicate there's potentially some little scam bots or bounty hunters essentially in there? Probably, yeah. Does that reflect the price? Not really. But it doesn't make the price grow because they're not real people. That's the difference. So in terms of that, just be careful. And again, it obviously talks about partnerships in terms of ecosystems and stuff like that and how the responses are. But obviously you got this as well in terms of Chainlink partnerships. Right, we are a data provider, not a data consumer. We are not using Chainlink to consume data. Misconception of community messages, people. We've got to be careful with that sort of stuff, especially in this space. Another one here, pinned tweet, obviously the Google one. If you've not opened the link, you would think that Google is involved in integrating Chainlink. Reality, it's not. Anyone can technically use these solutions, by the way, just to let you know. I could use it on my own company. So this is why you need to verify partnerships, and why I personally believe that Chainlink is hurting right now is because the people that bought it high, not fully understanding what the project is and looking at their wallet and going, holy I've lost 30% sort of thing. They do a bit of digging, they do a bit of deep dive analysis, thinking, what have I bought? All kinds of that bit of buyer's remorse kicking in. Ultimately, then they start to find stuff like this and they just sell, and it harms the price. So there's always going to be FUD. Every single project in the world of mankind, every company, there's always FUD. But it's all about putting fires out for a company. But the problem is you don't make the fires to start off with. Ultimately, what you got to remember, for me, my opinion, if they had the likes of Google, Swift and stuff verifying it on their website, that'd be fine. But they removed it. That's different. In terms of the Twitter likes, stuff like that, it's that sort of thing doesn't help. It doesn't help at all, in my opinion. But in terms of analysis, let's have a little look at it. This was actually a trade that I was actually putting on. If you follow me on Twitter, you would have seen that I put the hammer on here ages ago. And I was actually saying in August, take profit. This is not looking good. Why was it not looking good? There was a nice divergence up here, and it was looking very, very toppy throughout the course of the previous month. And obviously what happened next was kind of obvious realistically when you look at it. If you look at like the 4-hour time frame, you can start to see a lot of things in terms of that top region. This whole region here, you know, divergence was appearing. It's like, oh, hello, potential top. And when you look at this price discovery level, you know, that's the top, the pure top. And you got to think, well, there's only so much they can go, and you got to look speculation bubble, right? Simple as that. It's like the diagram, that is it. And for me, personal opinion, I think this is going to go lower. But again, as I say, if you are a backer of Chainlink and you really rate it and you're over and you've done all your research and you're kind of backing them anyways, regardless of any red flags or whatever, which we know are in every single project, you may find that you might get a really good buy-in, whereas some people are kind of floating up here somewhere, as we all know. So for me, my personal opinion, I think 110% we are probably going to be hitting this $8.90, $9 region again, which is where we licked into last time, got a bit of liquidity. We're coming back down. But this was a trade that I was going to act on, but I didn't have the time to do it. Ultimately, it's been on here for ages, but it's actually kind of following through quite nicely right now. In terms of how this trade kind of materialized, it was taking this dump, this impulse down to this point, the retest of the resistance levels, and then we're going lower into the continuation of the trend. As you can see here, you know, lower high, lower low, lower low, lower high. We're going to probably form another lower low, potentially. Not everyone wants to hear that, but ultimately, opportunity. As I always say, embrace a bear market, especially in a coin that you really rate and you like, and it's been a lot higher, because you never know what might happen. Personally, I think we might go down to $7, and if worse comes to worse, it wouldn't shock me in the slightest to see us down to $5 with this one. So, for me, overall, personally, I rate its paper side of it. I don't rate what the execution is right now, but it's a very, very early day project. It's only been around for 2 years. Got to remember those sort of things with cryptocurrency. Speculation creates hype. Hype creates price movements. It also creates people jumping in at the wrong time. So if you jumped in at Chainlink at a really high price, the best course of action is obvious. Dollar cost average. If you want to get out of that position, try and buy low, resell a bit higher if you can. But patience is key. They may well do an absolute 180, even with myself and my own opinion on it. It might change a lot of things going forward. They might sort the partnerships out and get them fully listed on the website and verified, all kinds of good stuff. That'd be a huge tick in the box. They may address their supply. That'll be a huge tick in the box. And all kinds of other stuff that they may do as well, which has obviously been put on the internet by other research companies. But for me, overall, speculative bubble confirmed. We're coming down, still are coming down in my opinion. So yeah, video done. Hope you enjoy. This again, not to FUD anything, but it's just obvious observation I want to comment on. Educational stuff in there. Grasp it, take it on, and find the next thing you can jump into.